What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. Eagles are 1-0. They did what I was hoping they would do. Yes, I did predict them to lose in our pre-game sort of analysis, but I just said, I gave you the reasons why. I said this was going to be a close game, but until the Eagles proved to me that they can get past that ugly second half of the season from last year, then I needed to see it. So that's why I picked the Packers to win a close game. I thought they would be the ones that would sort of rally and hold on, but it was the Eagles, thankfully. I love whenever I do pick against the Eagles, I definitely want to be wrong, and certainly I was with this prediction. So a lot to talk about the game. The biggest key to this game is the fact that they got the win, because more than likely, and we'll see how Jordan Love is. He got hurt late in the game, ended up sort of walking off, but he was definitely gingerly. If it's one of those high ankle sprains, he could miss a month. So we'll see. Obviously we never root for injuries, and hopefully he's going to be okay. But if he misses some time, that could certainly compromise the season for the Packers. But it was a good sign because initially he was on the ground writhing around for a while. So it looked like it was going to be potentially a severe injury. I mean, until they get the MRI done and all that, it could still be. But the fact that he was walking off is typically a good sign, although not necessarily. We've seen people walk off with torn ACLs in the past. So we'll have to see what happens with Jordan Love. But let's hope he's all right. And but what I was getting at is that this is a huge win because the Packers are one of the better teams in the conference, and especially with Love. Without him, you would think that they're not going to be all that great. So, but let's just assume that Love is going to be okay. They're a top team in the NFC. So a win is going to go a long way in terms of any tiebreakers that the Eagles may need at the end of the season for playoff seeding, home field advantage, stuff like that. So huge win by the Eagles, and we needed to see it. They played so badly last year at the end of the season. They couldn't beat anybody. I mean, they got crushed by the good teams, and then they got beat by bad teams. It was just a horrible ending to the season. And so when I predicted that the Packers would win this game, I needed to see it. My confidence level wasn't high, even though I do expect the Eagles to be good this year, no question. I still predicted them to have a 12-5 record. This is one of the losses that I had for them. And the reason was, again, how the last season ended, and the fact that, again, it's going to take them time to gel. They don't play their starters in the preseason. That's always been that certainly rose its ugly head in this game. Botch snaps, so much for Jalen only throwing one pick in the preseason. He threw two in the first quarter or the first half of the game. Well, he turned the ball over twice in the first quarter of the game, and then threw another horrible pick later in the game that was very costly. Could have cost him the game. So much for that. Jalen had an up and down game. I mean, some things he did really good, really, really good. And some of those plays were just horrible. And as a veteran, you can't make those plays anymore. That's it. End of story. I'm kind of getting all over the place here. But one of the reasons why I picked the Eagles to lose was, again, zero confidence because the way the last season ended. I needed to see it on the field. I needed to see it. They needed to make me believe again, and the new coaches, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new defense coordinator, even though I like these coaches much better than last year's guys because they are experienced. These guys, have done the job before and like both sides of the ball last year. The Eagles were still learning a brand new offense and a brand new defense. So, and they're going up against a really good team. I got a lot of respect for Green Bay. They're a very good team. Josh Jacobs, I knew was going to be a good pickup for them. He ran all over the Eagles. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And Reed, I had that guy in my fantasy team last year. I picked him up like week 4 or 5. So I knew he was a good player, and he's becoming a really, really good player. Now, is he just that good, or is the Eagles secondary that bad right now still? I think it's a little bit of both. That guy's a good player, He had a really good game, and I think Love played pretty well. All right, let me get into the game. I took some notes. So the 2 red zone turnovers by Jalen. When I say red zone, I mean in their own territory, which set up the Packers twice in the red zone. Just terrible. One of them was the interception, which was just a horrible pass. And the other one was the turnover. That one I'm not going to necessarily blame on Jalen. It's probably more on Jurgens snapping the ball. Who knows if it's the quarterback or it's Jurgens. I haven't watched. Most of the time I do watch my post-game press conferences before I do my show. Which, by the way, for anyone who's just joined, Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff has been around for 2 years. Over 2 years ago, I started this podcast on just the audio platforms. So Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, all those, Apple. I was on all those platforms, and you could still go back and do a search, and my shows will come up. So I decided to bring this finally to YouTube. Main reason for that, I want to engage with you, the audience. Not quite ready to do that yet because I need to build up, a subscriber base. I had quite a good of a following through my just audio podcast. There were times where I was in the top 50 of all sports podcasts. So we had some pretty good following, and I just needed to come over to YouTube, and obviously you got to grow. I'm basically starting all over. So if you're watching this, you like the content, you love the Eagles, give me a subscribe, please, and you'll see that, hopefully, you'll be able to engage me going forward. I plan on doing a lot of live streams where I'm engaging and bringing you guys in through chat, and we'll be able to engage and talk Eagles, talk about the Birds. I'll answer your questions. You can debate what I have to say, all that kind of good, fun stuff, and that's really always been a goal of mine to do that with. So we're finally here, but it's going to take me a little while to build up subscribers. So again, hit the subscribe if you get a chance. Give me a like or a thumbs up. Comment on the video as well. Let me know your thoughts about the game, and I'd love to hear them, and I'll certainly respond to them on future episodes. So, all right. The next point that I wanted to make was that, when Hurts did turn the ball over in the red zone twice, I should stop saying that. Deep in their own territory, because red zone obviously is an offensive term. Gave the Packers the ball twice in their red zone, and I thought the defense really stood up early in this game, very impressively. So that was a really good sign, because they were under the gun right off the bat in this one. I mean, you had the whole offseason. Most of these starters didn't play a lick in the preseason, and here they are right off the bat, overseas in Brazil, big, huge conference game. The world's watching because it's the only game on, and I thought our defense really stood up and played very, very well. The coverage was really good. They were getting pressure, and they held them to field goals, and that's why they won the game. That early in the game, making those defensive stops is the reason why the Eagles won this game. You can't forget that, because they played terribly in the second half. We're going to get that in a moment. But, those defensive stands when the Eagles were that the Eagles made early on in this game were huge. Were really, really big. So that was impressive. Trying to read my chicken scratch here. I was surprised when I wrote it down here, when Jacobs got that 4th and 1, that the Eagles and Sirianni didn't challenge it. I didn't think he made it. Again, once I start live streaming, you guys can, get your comments, and you guys can tell me. I can see live what your reaction is. But comment below. Excuse me. Did you guys think that Sirianni should have threw a challenge flag on that Jacobs 4th and 1? From what I saw, I didn't go back and rewatch it again. But when they showed the one replay, I didn't think he made it. Or I thought at least was challengeable. But maybe he made it. Again, I didn't get a really super good look at it. Excuse me, my voice is kind of going. Always happens like that. I'm always a little hoarse after an Eagles game. Now, I'm giving a lot of credit to the Eagles stopping the Packers in those early Hurts turnovers. However, they were also aided by the fact the Packers kept getting penalties, offsides, illegal motions. I mean, they were getting a ton of penalties, holdings, a lot of holdings. That was kind of preventing them from getting into the end zone. So that certainly helped. But when the Eagles defense had a chance, they were making some plays. Beautiful pass. Barkley didn't take any time at all getting acquainted with Eagle fans and getting in the end zone. What a beautiful, this is what I mean about Hurts. As terrible of his 2 interceptions were, just boneheaded passes. He threw a beautiful pass to Barkley in the corner of the end zone. That was an amazing pass, and that was a great catch by Barkley. He just shows off the kind of hands that he has. He is a every down back, as we know. I mean, we've been playing him in the division for years. Everybody knows him very well. But to see him now doing it on our team, he's such a weapon. You got a guy with hands like that, and it's just awesome. And a great pass again by Hurts. So Barkley gives the Eagles their first touchdown of the season. Let me see what my next notes are here. Yeah, so after the Eagles scored that touchdown, the defense just started shitting the bed. I don't know how way to say it, but there were times in this game where the Eagles defense reminded me of the last 7 games of last year when they couldn't stop anybody. Terrible tackling, guys wide open down the field. It was like deja vu all over again. So I'm very much up and down with my overall opinion of this game. It's huge that the Eagles won. I talked about it in the pregame. Matt and I did about how these first 3-4 games of the season are always preseason. Eagles refuse to play their starters in the preseason. I am totally against that. I think the Eagles starters should at least play a quarter or half every preseason. But they come out there, and the botch snaps, stuff like that happens, and stupid penalties. The Eagles, they didn't play too bad penalty-wise, but they had the botch snaps twice. They had the one in the first that cost them. They hiked the ball, and Hurts wasn't even nearly being ready for the snap. And then it was a easy fumble recovery by Green Bay. And then you had later in the game going for it, not going for it, but going for the tush push on the 1-yard line. They fumble that, and that looked like more of Hurts' issue than it was Juergens. But why is it happening? Because they didn't play in the preseason. There's no doubt in my mind. So I blame the coaches more than the players on stuff like that, on botched snaps and stuff like that. And that's on the coaches. I'm sorry. Can't blame the players because, it is a player's fault to a degree, of course. But, if they got some game action in the preseason, I don't think those type of things happen. Or I think at least limits the chances of it happening. Big stop on a 2-point conversion when Green Bay did score and they went for 2. So that was a good job by the Eagles. I think it was a run. I believe it was a run. So it was a good job by the run defense. That was after Reed's runaround touchdown. Explosive play, some bad tackling on a play, some bad pursuit. That should never happen. But good play by Reed. Can't read my chicken scratch here. Barkley. Don't know what I have there. So I think it was in the second quarter where Nakobe Dean had a pick six go right through his hands. I know he's now a third-year player. I know he hasn't played much in the NFL, but you can't miss those opportunities. You can't. Nakobe Dean needs to haul that in. That was a gift wrapped, handed to him, and he dropped it. Can't happen. So Nakobe had really an up and down game. He made some really good plays, but he also, like, that one was terrible, and he had some over pursuit issues, some coverage issues. So he was really up and down. We're going to get to the thumbs up and thumbs down in a moment. GJ was absolutely smoked on the deep pass to Reed. I don't know what the heck he was doing. They pointed out on television how he was completely out of place, and he's the one that has deep coverage responsibility on that play, and he left the guy 20 yards open. So he had a bad game. I mean, I'll get to my thumbs up and thumbs down, but I was very disappointed. I'll just give you a little prelude in Gardner Johnson. He was really bad in this game. Before the half, going for it, Smith then made a big catch. Smith made a couple huge clutch catches in this game. Most of them in that final drive when the Eagles were eating the clock. It was third down and 5 or 6, where they didn't want to give the Packers the ball with so much time left. And I think it was a fourth down play too, where he made a big catch. Devontae Smith is so important to this team. I think he is the guy that, if I was play calling and the Eagles need any big time catch on a third and long or to keep a drive alive, that's the guy I'm going to. Even more than Brown. Devontae Smith is clutch. He's got the best hands on the team. He's clutch. I mean, I love Devontae Smith. Gainwell. There was a play. There's no doubt Barkley got injured briefly in this game. I don't know what happened. He kind of was like stuffed, and then he kind of was like almost like his back was wrenched a little bit, and you could see him. The commentators didn't say anything, but it was just a weird play. And then when Barkley was just kind of like ran into the line, his back gets kind of pushed back. There was the refs blew the whistle. It was just a weird looking running play, and Barkley immediately went to the sideline and said, bring in Gainwell. I don't know what happened to him, and obviously he wasn't hurt badly, but the commentators totally missed that. I'm like, yeah, I saw it. I mean, Barkley's like, right after the play, he's like, get me out. So, and he was out for like the next 2 or 3 series. I didn't even see Barkley towards the end of the first half at all. But Gainwell came in and made some huge catches. And they were difficult catches. There was that one, the first catch he made, when it was a tough, quick out because Hurts was under major pressure. Gainwell not only catches it, but makes the first guy miss by a wicked quick deke right after he caught the ball, too. It's like he just barely caught it, and then he's immediately deking. Smoked that guy, gets another 6 or 7 yards, gets the first down, and I think he beat another guy for another yard or two. Gainwell is a very good player. He's underrated. It took a while for me to build up on liking him or not, but I like Gainwell. I think he serves he's a very good, backup running back. He's a good third down threat, and he's a good red zone guy. I'm glad that they kept Barkley in the red zone. Like last year when they had Miles here, it used to drive me nuts that Miles Sanders would be the guy that brings the team all the way down to the 10-yard line, and then they bring Gainwell in for the next 10 plays, or the red zone or whatever. It used to drive me crazy. I'm like, keep Sanders in there. He's the one that got you down there. But Gainwell does serve a purpose. He's very good. He's got good hands. He's got more power than you think. I think a lot of tacklers are like, he's going to be easy to tackle, but he's strong. He's stronger than you think he is. So good job by Gainwell. He made some other plays later in the game too that just some big catches. A.J. Brown to start the second half. So the Eagles went into the half down 2. I think it was like 19-17 or something like that. And they were getting the ball in the second half. And I thought the Eagles, let me get back to the first half again. They did a good job making the drive down and kicking a field goal late to get the game within 2 points. So it was a good drive there. It would have been nice to get a touchdown, but they got the field goal. And I thought that was a good decision by Sirianni to get the points there, not to go for it. It scared me. He scares me a lot because I think he goes for it too much on fourth down. But that was good that he got the points. The Eagles get the ball in the second half, and immediately Hurts nails A.J. Brown for a deep touchdown, mostly a run and catch. I mean, he still threw it like 25 yards, 30 yards down the field. And then A.J. Brown ran the next 30 yards or so. It was like nearly a 70-yard touchdown pass and run. Great play by A.J. Brown. He's such a weapon, such a beast. And once he gets a full head of steam, nobody's going to tackle him. You might catch up to him, but you're rarely going to tackle him, at least one-on-one. So great job there. That was huge to come out in the second half and just put a statement on the game. Like, okay, you know what? We had some issues in the first half, and now we're here to play, and we're gonna try to take this game from you now. So that was great. That was just a huge play. Good throw by Hurts. Like I said, Hurts, he was very up and down, made some stupid boneheaded plays, but made some great plays too, like that pass to Brown was right on the money. Those clutch passes to, like I was saying, to Gainwell as well as Smith when they needed those plays. Hurts was right on the money. So, he made some really good throws. Nakobe got smoked by the tight end. This is after the Eagles had that big ass. Not big ass. Well, they had the big ass play, the 70-yarder. He gave him the lead for the first time in the game, and then the Eagles let the Packers go right down the field again and score a touchdown, mainly because of that big play by the tight end. It was like a 40-yard play where Nakobe Dean got totally suckered in, faked down the run, and then the tight end was running wild, 10 yards behind him, and took it for like 40-something yards. So Nakobe, defensive awareness in that one. And on that same drive, too many pass interferences. The Eagles secondary had way too many pass interferences in this game, and that costed them on that drive also that the Packers, to their credit, just quickly responded to the Eagles touchdown with their own. So again, just my points about the secondary. Very good in the first half, really, especially in that first quarter when they were in the red zone twice and kept the Packers out. Thought there was really good coverage overall in a lot of cases. And then in the second half, I don't know what the heck happened to the secondary. It was horrible. Guys wide open all over down the field. They had no answers for Reed, and Reed was open, seems like whenever they wanted to throw to him. So that said, there was one highlight in the secondary, and that was when Reed Blankenship, who led the Eagles in interceptions last year, had a great read. Speaking of Reed, different kind of read, but broke in on a play and made that was a tough catch to make, because not only was he kind of, he's heading this way. There's two guys. There's Eagle. I figured the Eagle was in coverage. Might have been CJ or Slay. One of the two was covering the guy, but they're kind of heading this way. Blankenship's coming in this way, and the ball is like thrown just to the left, almost to the player. He reaches in front of the Green Bay receiver and takes the ball, and then it was able to make sure it didn't touch the ground. It was a very difficult interception. So great job by Reed Blankenship with that interception. That was huge. Because Green Bay had taken over the momentum again. The Eagles had that big touchdown to Brown, and the Packers just got the ball, went all the way down the field and scored. So that was a huge interception there by Blankenship, and the Eagles capitalized on it. So often last year, the Eagles, whenever they did get an interception or a turnover, which wasn't much, I think the defense needs to get more turnovers this year. They need to create more turnovers. But when they get them, they need to score 7. They put 7 on the board, not 3. Too often last year, the Eagles either didn't score at all or only got a field goal off turnovers. You need to capitalize on them. Barkley into the end zone for his 3rd touchdown of the game at that point. So the Eagles capitalized on Blankenship's turnover. And then Packers obviously got the ball back again. And on this down, I have a note here that, Mitchell made a really good breakup play on a pass near the sideline where he broke in, got his hand in there. So Mitchell's, showed some really good ability, which you want to see out of your first-round pick. So I think he looked pretty good overall in this game. He did get flagged for a PI late, which I thought was kind of a ticky-tack call. But I think overall Mitchell looked pretty good. So on Jalen's second boneheaded interception, it really was, I won't say the only, he didn't you guys know, if these have been listening to my podcast for a while, but those of you who are obviously new audience that don't know, my biggest issue with Hurt is he resorted to last year. He did a lot in his rookie season. He didn't do it much during the season the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, and there's a reason for that. He played a lot better. Last year, he got back into the habit of whenever he felt any pressure, even if he felt like ghost pressure, when he just thought pressure was there when he had more time, he would always run out. And he kept saying it on the broadcast tonight, which was ticking me off, saying, well, that's when he's the most dangerous. I'm like, no, that is when he's the most dangerous to the Eagles, not to the other team. He rarely can make a play down the field. Yeah, occasionally he'll pull a Houdini act and hit, Smith, usually down sideline, who makes some ridiculous play and somehow stays in bounds. But when Hurts rolls out to the right, which he has a horrible habit of doing, it takes away. It immediately makes the defense's job a lot easier because then they only have to cover half the field. So not only is then the advantage go to defense just because of that, but then all of your receivers that are running their normal routes all have to all come out of the routes immediately because Hurts is running all the way to the right. So their normal routes are already messed up. So that's what I'm saying. He does way more damage to the Eagles than he does to defenses when he runs off to the right. So I'm like, one of the keys to Hurts having a good year again this year is him stop doing that. Stay in the pocket. I didn't see him do as many rollouts to the right tonight. There's only a couple, maybe 2 or 3 times when I saw him really do it. So that's good. He's showing improvement there. So it means that somebody's in his ear finally telling him not to do that. Other than me, I'd be in his ear all the time. But the one of the plays that he did do it is when he threw the stupid stupid interception in the end zone to Brown. He threw across his body trying to hit Brown, who was wide open. No kidding. He definitely was wide open. But when you got to pull a Houdini act and throw it while you're going this way across the field, you never get nearly as much mustard as you need on it to get it to him in time. And you got good cornerbacks back there. I mean, most any player in the NFL is a good cornerback. That's why they're in the NFL. You got a guy like Alexander. That's giving him all day to come over and make that catch. He was not even covering Brown that play. But he knew that if Hurts was going to launch that ball, it was going to take it forever to get to the end zone. And he would have time to come off his guy, go over and make the play. And that's exactly what he did. So, stupid play by Hurts. Almost cost the Eagles the game. Fortunately, it didn't, but it could have very well have. So, again, he's got to stop rolling out to the right. And then most of the time he does just throw it out of bounds. So at least he's smart. But that was a time when he needed to be even smarter because they're in the red zone. And he decides to chuck it. And, Alexander made an easy pick. All right, enough of that. I'm sick of ranting about that. I mean, it's going to be new to this audience, me talking about that, but I've been saying that for years about Hurts. Yeah, that would have, if the Eagles were more careful with the ball, Hurts was more careful with the ball, and they did score a touchdown there, and that instead of throwing that ridiculous pass, the Eagles would have been up by 2 scores for the first time in the game, and that would have been big. But they didn't, and it could have been a huge turnover. I mean, it could have been a huge, could have cost them the game. I mean, it was a huge turnover. Where was the run defense in the second half? So not only did the Eagles' pass defense disappear in the second half, but the run defense was horrible. Josh Jacobs, who was a good running back, was gashing the hell out of the Eagles' defense. Very concerning. Very concerning. This is game 1. These guys are not, maybe they're out of football shape because, again, they haven't played in the preseason. Maybe that's part of it. But it's early in the season. These guys should have their legs. And second half, Jacobs was just, I think he was averaging at one time late in the game 8-point-something yards per carry. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. So they have to do something about that run defense. And that's very concerning. Very concerning. Like I said, there's no Fletcher Cox here. There's no safety net here anymore. Jordan Davis, Carter, these guys on the line, and of course with the defense, linebackers. I mean, they need to they can't be having guys gash for 15, 20-yard runs like Jacobs was doing in the second half. That was ridiculous. I just made another note about how Reed was smoking Eagles secondary the whole game. He was. They had no answer for him at all. Not many tush pushes. One of the other things I talked about in the pregame podcast, so make sure you check that out if you haven't. Matt and I gave our thoughts on the game and the season in my launch stream, so make sure you check that out. But I said they did that tush push too many times last year, way too many times. So I didn't want to see it, especially with Barkley now. There's no need to do tush pushes all the time. And I thought for the most part, the Eagles didn't do that many in this game. So they did give the ball to Barkley, inside the 5. So they didn't tush push it out, all the way in. So that was good. And even on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2s, they weren't doing the tush push. They did it 3 times in the game, which I think they only made it 1 out of 3 times. So they're not doing it nearly as good as last year. Now you don't have Kelsey there anymore. And of course they botched the snap too on the 1-yard line. So that didn't help. But I don't want to see that play. Use it when you need it. When it makes sense to use it, sure. But you got Barkley there. Hand the ball off. Let the guy, beast his way through. So, I like the fact that, Sarian didn't run it too much today. All right. Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, thumbs up for the game. Zach Bond was the best defensive player on the field for the Eagles. I think we now know why he's the starter. He was great. He had a couple sacks. He made some big tackles. A lot of tackles for losses even. I thought Bond, his pursuit was really good. Even if he was on one side of the field, he was the guy chasing down the play on the other side of the field. I thought Bond was great. I really did. I was very impressed by Zach Bond. So thumbs up to you, Zach Bond. Of course, the 2 wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Brown had the big, 70-yard TD reception, and then Smith had these clutch after clutch after clutch catches. Great games by both of those guys. Saquon Barkley, goes without saying, star of the game offensively for the Eagles. 3 touchdowns. The catch that he made, phenomenal. And the 2 touchdown runs, he was fantastic. And he had over 100 yards as well. Thumbs down. These are concerning thumbs down guys. These are not guys that I expected to have thumbs down on. CJ GJ. Horrible game. Horrible game. I mean, this guy is here to solidify this secondary. He was awful. And I love CJ. It was one of the best signings. I said this offseason. He was the best offseason signing outside of Barkley. He was horrible. Talked about the big long play where the heck was he on that? He's the one that has responsibility for deep coverage downfield. He let the guy fly wide open. And he missed tackles all over the place tonight. Terrible tackling. So major thumbs down for CJ. We need to see much more from him. And I'm disappointed because I love the guy. Another guy I would never expected to write down this guy's name. Jalen Carter. Stupid penalties. And did you hear his name called other than the stupid penalties this whole game? Except for maybe the end of the game when he hurt Love. Didn't hear anything from Jalen Carter. Where the heck was he? Didn't see much of a pass rush from him. Need much more out of Jalen Carter. So that's very concerning to me. No, it's only one game. Not going to go crazy. But I'm just surprised that I'm saying that these thumbs down guys. And he's supposed to be one of the best, not only players in the Eagles, but in the league. Josh Huff. I don't think I heard his name the entire game. So that's super concerning to me. This guy is supposed to be replacing Reddick. Now, I don't expect him to be as good as Reddick, but I expect him to be good. I honestly didn't hear his name other than the intros the entire game. Did he make a tackle? Maybe I just missed it. Maybe he's on the tackle. I haven't checked the stats yet or anything, but I don't remember him. I don't remember his name being called. I don't remember seeing him make a tackle. Maybe he did, but I have him on thumbs down. Total non-impactful. And then thumbs down Juergens because, the botch snap that caused the fumble. Hurts wasn't even anywhere near ready for that. Again, I don't know if that's Hurts's issue or Juergens. I'll watch the post games and I'll answer by the next time we have by the next podcast. Which, by the way, I'll have Matt on and we'll get his thoughts about the game. But yeah, he not only botched that one. Again, it didn't look like it was his fault on the tush push play late in the game where he fumbled it. It looks like that was more on Hurts, but again, it doesn't reflect well on Juergens either. So Juergens was a thumb down. All right, listen. The key is, as much as I, criticize some guys there, what I'm going to do is this is basically a typical recap that I do. So I'm going to point out the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, and give my thoughts on the game. And I did predict, like I said, the Eagles to lose this game in a close one when we did our pregame podcast a couple days ago. But I did say that it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Eagles won this game. I could not pick the Eagles because I'm still having flashbacks from the last half of the last year where they were awful. Couldn't beat anybody. So I needed to see that they could prove that they could beat a good team. I treated this game as a road game. This was not a home game for the Eagles. You could paint the field Eagles and all this. This was a road game for both teams. A long road game for both teams. They had to fly 9 hours. So I look at this as a road win against a very tough team. Now, it wasn't at Lambeau. I get it. You didn't have all those elements in there, but it's still, it's tough environment, long flight, stadium no players ever played in. I know it was the same for the Packers too, but so this was a nice win on the road. It does count as a home game. The Eagles had this game, taken away from the link, which sucks. And I already gave my thoughts on these international games. I can't stand them. I can't stand them even when the Eagles are not in them. I can't stand any of these international games. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. But it is what it is. The NFL is going to do what they want to do. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm like 37 or so minutes in. Again, appreciate you listening through. Really, leave your thoughts about the game in the comments. I will definitely read them and maybe respond to them on the next podcast episode. And then, like I said, it's really key for me to build an audience here. So please, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button because once I get enough followers, I'll start doing live streams and you guys could be in here and we'll have a lot of fun together. All right. So again, the biggest takeaway, Eagles are 1-0. It's a beautiful thing. As you know, the Giants and Cowboys and Commanders are all rooting for us to lose, thinking we could very well have lost that game. And because the Green Bay Packers are a very good team. And the Eagles come away, even with some of the shooting themselves in the foot as many times as they did, with a win. That's a good sign. They got to clean a lot up, though. We'll talk about it more a little bit later on in the week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And like I said, please subscribe so that you don't miss any future content. Really appreciate it as well. All right. So next time, thank you again for tuning in. Fly Eagles Fly. 1-0, baby. It's on to our real home opener against the Falcons on Monday night. All right. That said, take care, everybody. We'll catch you later. Fly Eagles Fly.